We haven't gotten official word, but we have spoken to 2 witnesses, all indications that this all started at a silver vehicle right behind me over there. Now, as you can see, we find ourselves in a parking lot right now, Secret Service inside, where Donald Trump will be having his watch party. Trump has led the polls here in New Hampshire for months. The big story here in downtown Bangor is the water right over here. It might not seem high now. Clinton is leading the state overall, 42 to 36%. But it's the 2nd district where things are getting interesting. If your first choice is the person that gains the least amount of votes statewide, that will actually be knocked off. Then your second choice will become your first choice. Not only are the rails private property, but there's no set train schedule, meaning that at any time a train could come down those tracks, usually at a high speed. Biologists have been looking after her mother for 8 years now, and this cub will become the 2nd generation that they will look after. The day starts with a trip to district court. The computer crimes unit has located a residence where they believe someone is downloading child pornography. After getting a signed warrant, it's back on the road.
So when we first get there, we try to do a very soft approach. We try not to make a big scene and go in, knock on the door, try to get their attention, and just talk to them just like any other person. Everything good and safe? Yeah. Okay, I'm real sorry to just wake you up. For safety reasons, I'm not allowed inside. It quickly becomes apparent that there are 5 people in that home, and that means there's a lot of electronic devices.
We'll go through each computer that we can find in the house, and we'll bring it out here and do what we call a forensic preview. So basically what we're going to do is take the hard drive right out of here.
While we're outside looking through the computer, other agents are inside conducting interviews. This process could take hours, but in this case, the suspect seems to be cooperative.
We don't always get a level of cooperation that would be very helpful, but a lot of times people understand that what they're doing is wrong.
It also takes some time to look through the computer and flash drives, but he doesn't need to do a full search just yet.
Really, we only need one file to arrest somebody.
And that's what happens. After the police say they've found enough evidence, they arrest the suspect. 21-year-old Christian Cooper is arrested and charged with possession of sexually explicit material and gross sexual assault of a minor under the age of 12.
He was brought to the Kennebec County Jail, and he'll have a time where he's arraigned in front of a judge. Currently he's being held without bail. That'll likely change once he's seen in front of a judge.
Since our ride-along, Cooper has made his first court appearance. He's now being held on $25,000 bail and will have a psychiatric evaluation. For the underfunded unit, it's one less person on the streets. In Gardner, I'm Jaclyn Cangro for ABC 7 and Fox 22. I
testify that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Islam is peace. It really is. For me, it's a lifestyle.
Islam is about submission and surrendering to the will of God.
About 1/4 of the world's population, or over 1.5 billion people, follow Islam. Congregational prayers are held on Friday, and members of the Islamic Center of Maine let us sit in.
It's not about what a person looks like. That it's not about how handsome or how beautiful the person is, or what type of clothes you wear.
The religion is very similar to Judaism and Christianity, but Muslims recognize Moses and Jesus as prophets or messengers of God, with the Quran being the literal word of God as told through Muhammad.
We believe that Jesus was a human being, and he was one of the greatest prophets that God has sent to humanity. And we believe in many of the things that Christians believe about him as well, including the Immaculate Conception.
But there are stereotypes surrounding the religion. Members of ISIS and other terrorist groups often justify their actions citing jihad. But in the religion, jihad has a completely different meaning, being defined as a struggle for the sake of God, very rarely involving violence.
Whether, you guys are doing your work, you're doing jihad, you're working, you're getting out of your home, going out and working, making an honest living for yourself and your family, that is your struggle, that is jihad.
We have a verse in Quran meaning that if a person kills one person, it's as if he kills the whole population.
The term extreme Islamic terrorist doesn't sit well with most who practice Islam. In fact, they say the Quran warns followers of extremism of any kind.
If you're a real Muslim, you should be very kind, very peaceful, very loving.
Everybody needs to be in the middle lane, and it's a wide lane, so we don't have to be tiptoe right behind each other. But Islam teaches moderation.
The Quran specifically speaks against violence towards women, children, the sick, and the elderly. In Orono, I'm Jaclyn Cangro for ABC7 and Fox 22.
When people don't know you, they fear you, and we don't want that to happen.
I'm an American Muslim, I've been here all my life, and, and my children are Muslims, and I want them to be proud of their identity and not fear, being harassed or insulted.
According to the New York Times, hours after the recent attack in San Bernardino, California, Americans Googled the phrase "kill Muslims" at similar numbers that they searched for migraine symptoms and Cowboys roster. But Muslims here in Maine say they don't condone violence and are distancing themselves from terrorist groups.
We all hate ISIS, and we say this to our friends and non-Muslim friends. We say amongst each other, they've hijacked our religion. We want it back.
But getting the religion back is difficult, especially with growing feelings of Islamophobia and the recent call by presidential candidate Donald Trump to temporarily ban Muslims from entering the United States.
We know in our hearts that it will perpetuate, the bigotry and the hatred and eventually violence too. We know a lot of people who've experienced backlash, and that scares me to the core.
It's unfortunate, and that is why we make it our mission to make sure people in our community are comfortable with us.
Those at the mosque say they spend a lot of time with community outreach, whether that be with residents right here in Maine or with other religions.
We welcome everybody, whether you have a question or a challenge, or you want to debate or argue, whatever you want, just come on in and we'll talk about it together. And if we agree, we agree. If we don't agree, at least you know who I am and I know who you are.
Members of the mosque say it's those kinds of relationships that help to break down anti-Muslim stereotypes. It also changes the conversation. So instead of people pointing fingers at the mosque, community members are reaching out to Muslims after terror attacks.
When tragedy happens, we're so grateful that people in the community randomly call and ask how we're doing. And we can't ask for better community than that.
It's very heartwarming. It's really touched us.
Yeah.
Those at the Islamic Center of Maine hope to continue the dialogue, saying it's when people ask questions that they learn what the religion really is. In Orono, I'm Jaclyn Cangro for ABC7 and Fox 22.